here. This is Mike Dilk with the Relax Back UK show on UK Health Radio, your global real feel-good radio station. On the Relax Back UK show, we explore all kinds of health topics, so keep listening and enjoy the ride. Thank you for joining me, Mike Dilk, on the Relax Back UK show. Now, it is an absolute phenomenon, but what is it?
It's in over 700 locations across the UK. It's in 1,000 plus locations across the world, 22 countries. And we've now got something like 7 million people worldwide signed up, about 4 million in the UK.
It is Parkrun. And I speak with Professor Steve Hake, he's chair of the Parkrun Research Board, all about it, just how big it is, how many people run it, how it helps people, and how much money it can save the NHS. Spoiler, it's a lot. Still on running, I speak with Hamida Shakani, who completed the London Virtual Marathon.
So I had an operation to correct that, which involves major surgery and putting a metal rod in place to straighten up the spine. So I wanted to run for a charity that was kind of relevant to me.
As a teenager, Hamida had scoliosis, so she chose to run and raise money for the BackCare Charity. And so stay tuned for a great show. Steve Hake is Professor of Sports Engineering at the Advanced Wellbeing Research Centre at Sheffield Hallam University. He's also chair of the Parkrun Research Board, and I had a great chat with him about all things Parkrun. However, to start off, I asked him if I got all his titles and responsibilities correct, and told him that I suspected he probably does much more as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, yes.
I suspect, like all academics, there's a lot of other things you do as well.
Far too many things. Usually is a bit of plate spinning, throwing all these balls in the air. I'm also chair of the Active Travel Advisory Board for the Sheffield City region, and I work with the International Tennis Federation on setting the rules of tennis. And who else do I work with? English Institute of Sport. I'm on their technical steering committee. So I seem to be doing less and less in terms of research and doing more and more about pretending I know what everyone's doing and telling people what they should be doing. So, it makes me feel old.
Don't feel old. Well, you do Parkrun. You talk about Parkrun. Do you go on the odd Parkrun yourself?
Oh, I do. I'm one of those for whom Saturday is Parkrun day. So for me, Saturday morning, I have a particular routine. We get up, we go down to Parkrun, we do the half-hour Parkrun, we chat with people, and then we go to the local bakery, and then we go and get some lovely croissants from this bakery, and then bring them home, and then sit and drink coffee and talk and eat croissants. So that's my Saturday morning.
So for you, Parkrun is a lot more than just a run in the park.
Oh, it is. It's for me, it's a lifestyle. And even now during lockdown, where Parkrun is not allowed, although I think it could be allowed, but I think the decision is, look, it's not the appropriate time to be doing this. There is a thing called not Parkrun. So rather than turn up to an official Parkrun, you can do a 5K anytime you want, in any park you want. So with your, the people you lock down with, etc., and you just put it on the website. And so there's a load of us. There's 35,000 or so logging our Parkruns every week. And what's interesting is you've got people who've never done a Parkrun doing not the Parkrun. So people who are new to Parkrun. So there's about 5,000 people who are doing not Parkrun. Yeah,
that might be a function of lockdown, because people are looking to sort of engage with people in lockdown, because there's less of that going on, and also a lot of people have been looking to do some exercise.
Well, it is interesting. Lockdown, Sport England have been tracking people's physical activity behaviours, And what's interesting is during the middle of lockdown up to about May, there was a number of things happened. You've got a normal distribution of activity. So if you ask people how many days of activity have you done last week, 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, then you have a nice peak in the middle at about 3, and then it goes down to 0, and then it goes down to 7. But then when you get to 7, you get a load of people saying they're doing activity every day. And then you've also got a load of people saying they're doing absolutely nothing. So you have a normal distribution in the middle, and then at each end, you've got these absolute extremes, either doing something every day or doing nothing at all.
All right. I definitely want to ask you about that, some more details about that in a second. But sure. I missed out on quite an important question, really, because I started off because I know what Parkrun is and I've done it.
Oh, yes.
And the most basic question is, what is Parkrun for those that don't know?
It's a free, weekly timed run or walk on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. It's 5 kilometers in length. Do it how you want. You're not really allowed to do it on wheels, but buggies are allowed. Dogs
I've seen
are
people
allowed.
pushing prams and buggies.
Yeah, pushing prams. So if you're under the age of 4, then being in a buggy is quite allowed. Over 4, we kind of recommend that you run or walk. And it's in over 700 locations across the UK. It's in 1,000+ locations across the world, 22 countries. And we've now got something like 7 million people worldwide signed up, about 4 million in the UK. So, yeah. So
of those 7 million worldwide or 4 million in the UK, how many? Well, this might be a difficult question now because of lockdown. But before lockdown, or you mentioned there's not the Parkrun. How many are actually sort of partaking and doing it each week?
So what you find, it's really, really interesting. So if you look at the Parkrun population, you'll see in the UK that the average number of Parkruns participants have done is about 14 to 15, something like that. But that's over a period of years. So Parkrun's been going for 16 years, and the average length of time that people have registered is about 3. So it's really taken off in the last, 3 or 4 years. So the average length of time is about 3. So what you're finding that on average, people are doing, about 4 or 5 Parkruns per year, something like that, or on average. Now, of course, you've got some people who are doing 52 a year, and you've got some people who are doing just one a year. And it's extremely non-linear. It goes from the largest proportion of those doing 1 down to the smallest proportion, which is those doing 52 a year.
Right. Okay. And what sort of people are they that register? Well, that register and also do it.
You've got. Okay, so if you look at a park run, if you go down to your park on a Saturday morning when it's running and you see it, you'll see that on the front line you'll see the kind of the usual suspects, which is skinny white blokes in short shorts and vests, all looking at their watches, desperate to get the best time possible. But when the whistle goes or someone shouts "go," what you find behind these skinny suspects are the normal population. And the people at the back are those who are perhaps new to running, new to physical activity for the first time since they left school, people who want to change their lives in some way. They've had some kind of epiphany and some kind of motivation to change their behavior. So if we were to look at the characteristics of the population, then you find that around somewhere between, up to about 8 or 9% of those who are registering now for Parkrun, or would have been had it been open, are those who were previously inactive. So when you ask them how much physical activity are you doing at the moment, they basically go, well, less than 1 thing a week. And and the question is, how much physical activity are you doing? How many times are you doing physical activity per week? of 30 minutes or more, enough to raise your heart rate.
Right.
And they'll say less than 1. So these people are doing really, really nothing. So between 5 and 10% of the parkrun population are that cohort.
Right.
And then in terms of those who are doing maybe one thing a week, it goes up and it'll be about 15%. And then it goes up to 2, 3 things a week. And the kind of the mode, the largest proportion is about 3 times a week. And then those fastest, those are really active ones, it then goes down for that. And so that's activity levels. In terms of the kind of deprivation, so we ask people where the postcode of where they live. Mm-hmm. And you can use postcode to get a thing called index of multiple deprivation. And this gives a score for lots of these areas around England, Scotland and Wales. And we can rank them. There's 32,000 of them in England. And you rank them from most deprived to least deprived. And there's 32,000 of them. And what we find is with park runners, in terms of that lowest proportion, the lowest quarter of that population, we have about 10% come from the most deprived portion of the UK, of England, Scotland, and Wales.
Right.
And then it then goes up, you know, and the lower the deprivation, the more people you have turning up.
Sure. So I'm just thinking. So I live in St Albans, and when I've been to Parkrun, you know, St Albans is a very middle class place. Yeah. And well, I suppose it's hard to tell when people are there and they're running stuff, but they kind of look like me. They look pretty dull and middle class. Yeah, yeah. So it does, you know, a large proportion of people at Parkrun attracts are, as you call us, dull middle class people. But on the other hand, what it does do, it also attracts large numbers. Although the proportion might be small, the numbers are very large of people from deprived communities who are previously inactive. And those are really the big wins. Those are the people we really, really want to target if we can. Because those are the people that really need support to change behaviors, to change lifestyle behaviors. Sure. But those numbers are really huge. You know, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people here. Right. So do Parkrun actually try and promote it to those kinds of people?
Yeah, yeah. So those populations, yeah. Parkrun are targeting new parkruns in places where people might struggle to do physical activity, either because of the environment, because it's socially, you know, not the norm for them to do that. So yes, they are currently focusing on those kind of areas.
All right. So let's move. I'm keen to move on to something else a little bit, because there's a lot of talk in the media about how there's loads of people who are kind of becoming couch potatoes and diabetes is on the up and all that. But when I went to Parkruns, you know, there were hundreds of people there. And, you know, a few years ago, I did the London Half Marathon. You know, there's thousands of people. And the virtual London Marathon a while ago, again, thousands of people. So the two, in my mind, don't necessarily go together unless we're kind of like diverging into two species of the fitties and the fatties. You know, it's from, you were talking about this curve of who does Parkrun and kind of the average. What's your comment on that? Are we really just becoming a load of couch potatoes?
No. I think if you look at the evidence, you know, when I started out in this field of, you know, sport and sport over 30 years ago, to be honest, it was my area. It was about equipment. It was about new pieces of equipment, new technologies, and most of them were made out of carbon fiber. So it was about, you know, this sports sector, shall we say. 30 years on, we talk more about physical activity, because it's not about whether who has the best kit. It's about getting people to pick that kit up in the first place. Because we've realized over the last 30 years that actually behavior change is really, really tough. And despite all the interventions we've tried to put in place over those years, the numbers of people who are physically inactive has stayed about 25 to 30%, regardless of what we do. So what we have here is we have a culture in this country and across most countries of the world, where the last 200 years since the Industrial Revolution, we've been trying to make things easier through technology. And I've been partly responsible for this. So, we've tried to make things easier, whether it's with wheels, whether it's with transport, whether it's with mobiles, whether it's with remote controls for your television. It's all been about how can we make things easier and get you to save energy. Now, suddenly we're going, well, do you know what? We don't want you to do that anymore. We want you to go out and be physically active because we don't want you to be a couch potato, despite everything pointing towards this is what you need to buy so that you can be a couch potato. Yeah. So we are a products of the system which we live in and the culture we live in. So we shouldn't blame people for being couch potatoes. We have to blame the system. So we have to do something different. Now, Parkrun is probably the best intervention in the world for trying to change that system, because it's not just about physical activity, it's about culture. And you've been to a Parkrun. If you go down to Parkrun, you can feel it. You can feel this social energy that people get when they turn up to a Parkrun. And actually, it's designed in such a way, it might have evolved to be what it is now, but it's been carefully designed to do what it says on the tin, which is to encourage people to do physical activity in a social manner.
Well, certainly when I've been to Parkruns, and I haven't been for a while because of lockdown, and then I sort of got out of the habit before that, I must admit. But it was obvious to me it was a lot more than just a run in the park. There was a lot of people were obviously meeting up, friends that they see there every week, and they were getting a lot more out of Parkrun. So what sort of things do you think your average park runner gets out of it other than a 3-mile run?
Yeah, well, we did a survey a little while ago of park runners, and we got 60,000 massive survey returns from park runners.
That's got to tell you something first off, the fact you got so many answers.
Absolutely, 60,000, and this was a big survey. This had 47 questions in it. It wasn't a 2-minute job. This was a 15-minute job, and even at the end of that, those 60,000 people, 14,000 of them filled in the any other comments bit, and we've now got 600,000 words to analyze, which is more than it's about 50% more than War and Peace, and so we're still analyzing it.
Well, so good luck with that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, it's going to be my retirement job, that one. First thing that people told us were the motives for doing a park run, and it was kind of the things you'd expect. It was about health. It was about physical activity. It was occasionally about weight loss. It was about very few people put down mental health. But we had all these different motives. My family told me to do so. My doctor told me to do so, etc. That was way down, actually, that one. And then we also asked them, what did they perceive the impacts to be? And hey presto, what did they say? They said their health was better. They said they were happier. They said their physical fitness was better. But actually, interesting, they said things like, my mental health is better. Even though that was quite a way down on their motives, in terms of the outcomes, their mental health was better. They found friends. They were socially connected to people. So what you're finding is any behavior change kind of intervention has to have, certain things to it. And there's in terms of the psychology of it, it's the competence. Do you have the competence to go out and run? Well, most people go, oh my God, I'm really scared. I haven't run for ages. Will I be able to do it? So generally going with friends that can encourage you, can help you along, and even Parkrun it says, if you want to walk it, just walk it, run it. You don't have to run it if you don't want to. We'll even have a tail walk. If you want to walk it right at the back, we'll have a tail walk and we'll walk with you and you can chat with them. So do you have the competence to do that? The next thing is autonomy. Do you have the ability to go along on your own? Well, Parkrun is the same time every week, lots of the same faces, the same people, so you know what to expect. So you have that autonomy. And then the third thing you have to have in some kind of intervention like this is the social networks, the social frameworks, and it has that in abundance. And so you go along and you make new friends. And Parkrun is designed, you remember Parkrun, what you do is you cross the line and you suddenly queue. We're great at queuing in Britain. If there was a gold medal for queuing, we would get the gold medal.
Actually,
and
I'm going to ask you about the queuing. Yeah, later.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm probably going to answer the question now. So the queuing is part of the design of Parkrun. So you queue up and you start to see the same faces that you saw last week or the week before, and you say a quick shy hello. And actually, when the results come out, because you're all in order, you can kind of go, oh, I wonder what the name of that person was ahead of me. And you start to learn people's names. And gradually, in this British shy way, we get to know the people around us, not even having to ask them what their names are.
Yeah.
But we could have automated that whole process. But Parkrun said, no, this part of it is really important. We need people to queue up. They get their barcodes scanned at the end. So every parkrunner has their own barcode. And that queuing, that social connections is part of what makes Parkrun special. If it was all automated, people would just cross the finishing line and then just go home.
Yeah.
But because people hang around and then there's a cafe and a coffee, whatever, it promotes that social connectedness. And it's that is the glue that keeps Parkrun.
Very clever. So
going.
that has happened to me. And I didn't even realize that was part of the process, if you like.
Yeah.
That was done on purpose. So I really like that. But when you mentioned the queuing, I just thought, oh, I wonder if they do Parkrun in Italy, and do they queue up in the same way?
Yes. Italy, I don't think it's in Italy. No, we have it in Germany. We have it in France. We have it in South Africa, etc. And as far as I'm aware, everyone does it in the same way. There's a finishing funnel. Everyone queues up. Interestingly, in South Africa, the parkruns are absolutely enormous.
Really?
So parkrun in South Africa, you have easily, 1,000, 1,500 plus parkruns. And the thing about Parkrun in South Africa is it's a way of engaging with physical activity with members of your family and friends in a simple but safe way. So, going out for a run in South Africa in some places is not that safe. So this is a way of doing it. And so what you find in South Africa actually is a lot of people just walk it. So the average time for a parkrun in South Africa is kind of 40 plus minutes, something like that. Well, if you know that you can walk 3 miles an hour, that's about 5 kilometers, then it's not far off walking pace for the whole kind of parkrun population in South Africa. So people are using that to do some external outdoors physical activity in a safe manner. And as far as I know, they have to queue up in the same way as they do everywhere else, because you have to give them a token and you've got to know what the order of the people are. So you can only put them through in single file.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, interesting. Right, so on to some other thoughts that I had, and I know other people have thought about this a bit. I was trying to mull over, all right, getting everybody to do a bit more exercise. This is a good thing, that there's a sense of belonging, a community kind of spirit with all this. What about, does all this exercise save the NHS any money? If a lot of people are getting a bit fitter, does this save, well, all of us really, because we all pay into the NHS, a bit of cash?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of your listeners will have heard of the concept of QALYs, quality adjusted life years. And, in the NHS, we will pay for medicines which will improve people's quality of life. And we'll pay £20,000 for a medicine that will improve the quality adjusted life year of 1. So we know that if you improve someone's quality of life, you can, the NHS will pay for it. But equally, if you improve someone's quality of life, there is a saving to be had. There's a value you can put on that. And in terms of physical activity, it turns out roughly that 1 hour of additional physical activity is worth just under about £9 in terms of quality adjusted life years. So literally the NHS would pay, £9 for that bit of physical activity if you could make it happen, that additional physical activity.
Well, each time it happens.
Each time it happens. And there's all sorts of nice tools on physical activity which you can use to try and work out, what's the value of this. So there's an economic value, and there's a savings to the NHS, there's a savings to the social care system, and we could quantify it if we wanted to. But in terms of the kind of benefits we're getting benefits to people's mental health. Interestingly, when we asked our Parkrun survey population, did they have any long-term conditions? Around 10% had long-term conditions. And these are the ones that have answered the survey, and these are the ones that are pretty active. So 10% had long-term conditions of 12 months or more. And predominantly that was depression, anxiety, asthma, musculoskeletal, cancer, diabetes. So these are people that have these long-term conditions and are turning to physical activity to try and promote their physical and mental health. So yes, it's Parkrun. We haven't done the calculation yet because we're nervous about doing that, but we know it is massive. It's a massive, benefit to UK PLC.
Just from what you said there, we're not talking about like a few million. We're talking about millions and millions, aren't we?
Yeah, I would say, if I had to guess, and this is just a guess, I don't want people to hold me to this, but it's tens of millions of pounds. When you consider that before lockdown, Parkrun was recruiting 500,000 new Parkrunners every year. And, around 10% of those, just under 10%, were previously physically inactive. That's 50,000 people per year. So these are huge numbers. And if you get those people to do some physical activity, you're going to prevent things like cancer, diabetes, these long-term conditions. Right. So it's worth tens and tens of millions of pounds. Is it more than 100? Could be. I don't know. I'd like to do the calculation. I'd like someone to come and help me do that calculation. But I think it's absolutely enormous. And the return on investment on Parkrun is huge.
Absolutely. Well, for the individual, it doesn't cost anything.
Well, it doesn't. Although, if you were to do the calculation and say, well, okay, there's a half hour of your time. We can value the half hour of your time, it's worth this amount. But in terms of, personal, if you think of it as a leisure activity, yes, it doesn't cost you any time. It costs you some effort, but the benefits are absolutely huge.
Right. So great benefits for, UK PLC as far as money saved by the NHS, and great benefits for the individuals as far as, just feeling good and having a bit of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if anyone hasn't done it, then, when it starts up again, I thoroughly recommend they go and give it a go. Look on the Parkrun website. You can hear about, not the Parkrun. And just go on YouTube and just look at some of the videos of people whose lives have literally, changed because of it.
Right. So if people do want to get involved, they have to register on the Parkrun website. How do they do that?
They do. So go to Parkrun UK. Just look at Parkrun UK. There's a registration page. Go on there. Register. What you'll get is a number. You get a barcode sent to you that you can print out in some way, or you can buy a little tag with it on that you can attach to your shoes. Or whatever. So you can print your own out, or you can buy one for a small amount of money. And then when Parkrun starts, you literally just turn up to Parkrun. They'll give you a briefing at the beginning. If you're new to it, they'll go, look, this is how it works. They'll tell you what the route is. There'll be loads of other people starting it with you. And then you run the 5K. At the end of the 5K, you go through the finishing tunnel. You queue up with everyone else, follow what they're doing. Someone will give you a token at the end of the tunnel. You've got a barcode and a token. You go to someone, they'll have a mobile phone, they'll scan both of them, and then, hey presto, on the website, your name appears on the website with the time, whether it's a personal best, how many parkruns you've done. They'll give you some congratulations, and you can see all the other people that you've done parkrun with on that event, and even around the world. And you can look at all these other people that have done it and become part of this community.
Perfect. All right, Steve. Thank you so much for chatting about this. I think it's a wonderful thing. I love it myself, and I would, encourage others to get involved as well. So, Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Remember now there's another lockdown here, and people all over the world, more people all over the world are working from home. That if you are struggling with this and you're suffering from back pain, or you're worried about your posture, think about the BackCare chairs. There's the BackCare Smart and the BackCare Hip. They've helped thousands of people already who suffer the agonies of back pain or are worried about their posture. The hip is a bit smaller and could be perfect for your home office. Why not have a look on my website, relaxbackuk.com. We're shortly going to hear from Hamida, who ran the virtual London Marathon recently. Shikani had scoliosis as a child, and as a teenager, age 16, had a major operation to correct it. And because of that, she decided to run the marathon, the London Marathon, for the BackCare Charity. She ended up running it virtually because of COVID. She was training away, and the event got postponed because of all this. And so I started off by asking her for a recap of all the dates that were involved.
So it was originally planned for the end of April, which I was training towards, and then it was mid-March that it was, they took the decision to postpone it to October the 4th. Right. But we had the option to defer to next April, which I took that option just for personal reasons. I preferred to do it next year, so stop training. But as the time went on and the months got closer to October, they realised that wasn't possible to do it, the proper way either. So they made the decision to do this October's run virtually, and then give everyone the opportunity to still run in the coming years the actual route. So everyone was given the opportunity to run the virtual. So I thought, why not give me another opportunity to do a bit more fundraising, get back into running, and give me another opportunity of doing it, really. Okay.
So what does running it virtually actually mean?
It means that you can do it wherever you like, but it also means that you're doing it by yourself without the crowds and thousands of other runners. So they developed an app that we could download on our mobile phone, which was quite good actually, because as well as kind of tracking how far you were going, it was giving you updates every mile. So Paula Radcliffe and one of the other previous runners were giving some commentary along the way and just kind of giving a bit of support, and that kept me going and counting down the miles.
Right, okay. I must admit, I would find it quite difficult if someone just said, right, plan a route for 26 miles around where you live. I find it difficult to know how to start. Did they give you any help in that, or was that up to you?
They gave people a few pointers. So because obviously the difficult circumstances this year, and some people had stopped training or lost motivation, they did suggest you could run down. So you could either do a 26-mile route, or you could do 13.1 miles one way and then come back again, or even break it down into almost like 4 10Ks or something like that. So I know there were people doing laps of certain areas. I decided to do a kind of local route. I'd done up to about 16 miles in my training back earlier in February, March time. So I knew the route that I could take to do 16 miles. And I also didn't plan on running. I didn't think I could run the whole thing because I hadn't trained throughout the summer. So my initial plan for the last 10 miles was to do just laps of the local high street. I know each lap's about 3 miles, so I figured 3 or so laps at the end would not only help me because I'd be closer to home, but the other issue doing virtual runs is you can't physically carry everything with you. You normally kind of pick up extra Lucozade and water on the way, but obviously you had to sort all of that out yourself. Okay. So I set off with some supplies, and then at 16 miles my partner came along and brought an extra drink and some more gels out for me and helped me. He ran with me some of the way as well, so that to keep me going. So yeah, lots of kind of thinking about how you wanted to do it and how it was all going to work as well.
Well, it sounded like you planned it very, very well, and it all went to plan. How long did it take you to complete the whole distance? So
I did it in just under 4 hours and 50. So it was about 4 hours and 49 minutes, and I can't remember the exact seconds, but yeah. So kind of. Thank you very much. Slowly, I was keeping track with the times and the laps, and I was on track for my target time. And sort of had to add a few more walks in, but towards the end, but kept walking, running as much as I possibly could. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
When you were doing it, did you sort of pass other runners who were, I guess, wearing a number? And was there like a knowing nod or a knowing smile to other participants?
Yeah. I was actually really surprised to see a few people along the way. There was quite a few runners out. I did see one or two with numbers. The others, I don't know if they were part of it, but they did sort of spot me and give me a thumbs up, and we kind of gave each other a nod, like you said.
Good.
But there was a couple that were involved, because as we were passing, we were like, "Where are you? Keep going." So yeah, it was great to see some fellow support, and then made you feel that you weren't by yourself as well. But also
a bit of support.
There was lots of cars tooting, and people sticking their thumbs out at the window, which was great as well, because I saw it on the telly just before I set off, and they were encouraging people, if you see anyone outside, to give them a wave and a beep. So that definitely helped as well.
Good. No, I can imagine, although not quite like the thousands of people, the crowds for the real thing, but a little kind of pick me up nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. All right, so you did this massive feat. I mean, because however fit you are and whatever shape you are, just to complete 26 miles, this is a big deal. So you well done, and you did it for a reason, didn't you? You didn't just think, "Oh, I'd like to run the London Marathon." You raised money for a charity. What charity was it?
Yeah, that's right. So I was raising money for the BackCare Charity, which is a charity that support people who have back and neck pain. Mm-hmm. Reason for choosing that charity specifically for me is I had scoliosis when I was a teenager, which is a curvature of the spine. So as you kind of grow, the spine doesn't keep up, and it ends up curving. So I had an operation to correct that, which involves major surgery and putting a metal rod in place to straighten up the spine. So I wanted to run for a charity that was kind of relevant to me and my past. I
so
guess.
you had that surgery as a teenager. What, like, were you 16 or something?
Yeah, 16.
Okay. And do you still have that metal rod in your bag?
Yeah, I do. So the surgery was to put the rod in. Obviously, at that age, you still have a bit of growth in you, but they just said they wouldn't take it out. It's kind of a bigger job to get it out, and there's no harm keeping it there. So yeah, it's still there. Right.
Well, I can see why you would choose the BackCare Charity. And do you still, because of that, the fact that you had scoliosis and then had a major operation, do you suffer from any back issues still?
Not so much. I mean, I do occasionally get a bit of back pain if I'm standing, particularly standing in one place tends to aggravate it a bit, or if I'm carrying something too heavy, but I don't think any more than it would affect the general kind of population that doesn't have any issues.
Sure.
It's definitely made a big impact.
Right. And so do you find in general that exercise, and I suppose running in particular, because that's kind of what we're talking about, helps with those issues? Does it make your back feel better, or if you exercise, do you have to be careful not to exercise too much? What's the situation with that?
So I was told after my operation to exercise, that would help. So I've not been told to avoid doing anything that other people would. So I do a variety of things. If I'm not running, I'm doing exercise classes, spinning. I do weights, nothing particularly heavy, but I'm still able to kind of do everything that everyone else does, just to keep generally fit and healthy. They always told me to do exercise to just keep generally a good kind of health and
well, that's good advice for everyone. You don't have to have had a major operation on your spine a few years ago for that to be good advice. So certainly, but yeah, you would suggest that that was, well, the fact that you keep active and do sport and running is part of the reason why you feel so good.
Yeah, I think so. I think when I don't exercise, I do feel kind of more lethargic, and I'm more. I could take a couple of days out of it, or if I'm on holiday and then I'm fine to have a week or two off and have a break. I think that's always good as well. You don't want to strain yourself, but yeah, just exercising regularly is something I've done for quite some time now, and I enjoy doing it, and it makes me feel good. It's not, you always have to kind of talk yourself into doing it sometimes, especially I prefer to get up in the morning and just get it over and done with. So getting out of bed and talking myself into it sometimes is the hardest part, but once I'm there and doing it, and afterwards, always feel so much better for it.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And so you did this for the BackCare Charity. So you raised money for the BackCare Charity. Do you know how much money you raised?
Yeah, so I have passed my target now. So I needed to raise £1,400, just over £1,600 now. So I did surpass that because of the virtual, which has been, it was great, to complete the run and then also pass the fundraising target as well.
Fantastic. All right. So well done in getting past your target. If people want to donate some more money to your efforts for the BackCare Charity, I guess there's a website to do that. How can people do that?
Yeah, there's a fundraising page. It's a secure site that's linked specifically to the marathon Virgin Money Giving website. So my page is www.virginmoneygiving.com/Hamidi Shakani, which is spelled HAMEDAHSHKOKANI. Quite a long name.
It's a long name. All right. Well, I'll endeavour to put that link on my blog as well. So if people want to donate some more money to the cause, they can. Now, so you mentioned that having done the virtual marathon, you get entry for future London marathons or a future London marathon. Are you going to take that up?
Yeah, definitely. I only planned to run the marathon once, actually. I wanted to kind of do it for the experience. I've, brought up in and around London, so I've always wanted to do the London Marathon. So yeah, I'll definitely do it for the experience when, hopefully things are back to normal. Still waiting to find out which year I've been allocated. There's options of 21, 22 and 23. So it depends on the charity, because I have a charity place. I'm hoping to do the proper one for the experience, and then I think that will be my second and last marathon.
Okay, all right. Well, look, good luck with that. I hope you get the year you want, and I hope you do even better than in the virtual one. So good luck with it. And Hamidi, well done on completing the virtual marathon, raising so much money for the BackCare Charity, and thanks for chatting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed to my guests on this week's show, and they were Professor Steve Hake talking about Parkrun and Hamida Shakani, who did the London Marathon virtually. And of course, thank you to you for listening. That was the Relax Back BackCare Show with me, Mike Dill. Thank you for listening, and please do join us again next time.